Hello and welcome to this episode of Below the Surface. I'm your host, Darshna Kamani, and here is my co-host, Stephanie Cavigliano.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Darshna. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, Stephanie. Grateful it's a bit cooler in the UK after our heat wave. How about you? How are you?
We're in the middle of it here in California, and we're big babies. So anytime it hits triple digits for us here, we just kind of throw in the towel.
I think you have competition with the UK. We're not far behind you. A bit of heat and everyone's melting.
Yeah, it's wild here. We've had really high temps, and then also thunder and lightning, which is pretty rare here in the Bay Area. So it's been kind of a wild weekend.
Sounds like very similar to the UK. We've definitely got thunder and lightning and rain coming our way, back to norm for us.
Exciting times.
It is. So we can't start the show without asking any new sweet dishes, desserts for the week.
Yes, keeping with tradition here, I must say I did try my hand at making lemon bars this weekend for the very first time, and I sort of melded two recipes in my head. This was an accident, but they still came out pretty okay.
Edible?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. That's a success. So with my daughter, we tried to make cake pops this weekend. It was for my niece's first birthday. They are harder than they look, for sure. It's a lot of getting your hands dirty.
Sounds delicious.
They were good. So, shall we get on with today's show?
All right.
So we have some great guests waiting to speak to all of us, but before we bring them on, a quick reminder that you can ask questions in the comment section below, or feel free to just say hello.
All right, so far in the show, we've covered a variety of topics from email attacks, account takeover. We've shown how SD-WAN can support your move to the cloud. And today, we're going to turn our attention to managed service providers.
We are indeed. Every year, Barracuda celebrates MSP Day in May. This is a day we have dedicated to acknowledging the work done by MSPs to support businesses in a variety of ways. To talk to us more about this day, some of the research we have carried out on the trends we are seeing for MSPs, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Neal Bradbury, VP MSP Strategic Partnerships, and Jason Howells, our International Director for MSP.
Hello, ladies.
Welcome to the show, Jason and Neal. We're glad to have you both on. Now we have to ask you, favorite sweet treat? Let us know.
I guess I'll take that one first, Neal, right? So I don't have a hugely sweet tooth, would you believe, but there's probably a few that I like. So chocolate eclair is what dreams are made of. But I can also go with a fairly simple, ice cream. Raspberry Ripple for me is a bit of the devil in there, with a bit of the normal kind of ice cream as well. So yeah, that probably sums me up a little bit here and there as well. So yeah, they're probably my favourites.
Sound good. What about you, Neal? So
I'll probably go with the favorite of this. I was going to say the favorite of this weekend would be the family we're in New Jersey, found a new donut shop. And this donut shop takes pastry, your love of these, whether it be your lemon bar or whether it actually be a cannoli, and they turn it into a donut. So I'd say probably the best donut I had this weekend was the cannoli donut. And so everything you love about a cannoli, you mix that with a donut. Wow. Amazing.
I can't even fathom. Two of my favorite things in the whole world.
And there's the difference between the UK and the US.
We keep it simple, Jason. So let's get started. Jason and Neal, can you tell our audience a bit about yourselves and about Barracuda MSP?
Yeah, let me start that off. So I am Jason Howells, and I run the dedicated MSP business unit for Barracuda internationally. So I've been at Barracuda for more years than I can almost care to remember. So kind of approaching 10 years. So I've seen a huge amount of change in that time at Barracuda. But Barracuda MSP is a really exciting journey that I've been on now since we made an acquisition back at the back end of 2015 to come into the MSP space and have a dedicated play into that market. And Neal can come in and tell you a bit more about that one of the founders of the businesses that we acquired at that time to make a really strong play into the MSP space. 2016 is when I kind of got involved on that journey, and we started to head out and look for partners on an international perspective. I guess Barracuda MSP, like I say, it's the dedicated business unit focusing on managed service providers. We're here to try and help them be successful. Obviously, with nearly 20 years experience in the security market and being experts in that field, that's where our focus is. And that's where we can help people, managed service providers along their already existing security journey, or we can help them to jump on it. And in the kind of 4 years that I've been doing that, we've certainly helped people to move along on that journey, which is, as I say, been super exciting. Neal will tell you more about, kind of how we came about entering into the space with our acquisition at the back end of 2015. Over to you, Neal.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. No, this is for me. This has been an awesome ride. Got to do, if any of your MSPs are on the line listening to us today, you know what it's like to start a business from, one guy all the way up to 200, or you're on that journey right now. And we wish you the best of luck, and it's exciting. For me, right now, currently with Barracuda, I do strategic partnerships. The managed services world is all about partnerships, whether it's alliance vendors or whether it's looking for new opportunities to provide services to the MSPs that we support. As Jason had mentioned, I was one of the co-founders of Intronis, which Barracuda picked up at the end of 2015. And back then we were a backup provider, right? We had a managed service provider-focused backup solution. And what we've been able to do with Barracuda is hire Jason and go global, but then also take a lot of the security products and opportunities that those products afford MSPs and kind of put them as part of the Barracuda MSP portfolio. If we provide you this, if you're not, you're like, hey, why do you need a special division to do this? The way that you interact with small businesses, the way that the tools that you use are different. The billing models, it's all monthly reoccurring, is different. And so, Barracuda made the decision to make that a separate division so that we can actually focus on the needs of managed service providers day in and day out. Barracuda MSP only works with MSPs every day, and so it's been an exciting journey, and I can't wait to see where we take this. We even did another acquisition for Barracuda MSP in 2019 when we acquired an RMM application, managed workplace. So a lot of fun here at Barracuda MSP.
There have been a lot of news around MSPs recently, especially around them being victims or potential targets of cyber attacks. So guys, what are your thoughts on this, and how can MSPs protect themselves?
Yeah, so from my perspective, you're seeing even the government in the US, and I'm sure Jason can comment on the UK, where they're even putting alerts out that MSPs need to be on guard. Hackers are smart. MSPs hold the kingdoms to multiple businesses' credentials, multiple businesses. So these hackers know they can get at 50 or 100 businesses versus actually getting at one, right? Which is scary when you look at it from one side. And so my message is, and we do this at CompTIA, so I serve on the Security Executive Council for CompTIA, is you got to protect your own house first, right? How can you go into a small business and say, hey, you should really do this, this, and this if you're an MSP and you're not kind of protecting your own tools, protecting your own staff. And so a lot of it is, drink your own Kool-Aid. And I won't go through the tons and tons of check boxes or lists of what to do first or what to do second, because I think every MSP is in a different scenario. But I think you need to make security a focus for your business, because if somebody gets in, your reputation's ruined and you'll end up losing everything that you've worked so hard over the past years to build. Jason, I don't know if you have something to add.
Yeah, and I think that covers a lot of it, Neal, to be totally honest with you. But I mean, you're right. As a managed service provider working with somebody like Barracuda MSP as a vendor, it's the MSP that is going out and selling their services, using the tools and the products and the services that we can provide them to go and do that. But ultimately, they're marketing themselves. It's their reputation that's on the line. They're selling themselves to go and do that. So, if they don't have their own house in order, if they haven't thought about how they have the right security play in place to make sure that they are protecting their customers that they work with, they have a responsibility to go do that. And as you say, the cyber criminals are very smart, right? They go and hack one place and they get access to potentially hundreds and hundreds of end users, hundreds of customers. So, I think it's really important for a managed service provider to make sure they choose the right partnerships, particularly in security, and working with somebody like Barracuda MSP would allow us to help them to go and make sure that they deploy the right kind of product. I'm happy to work with any of our partners that have made the choice to come and work with us to help them use our products and to make sure that they're safe. So yeah, I think the biggest part of all of that really is just to make sure that you choose the right partnerships. Make sure you get access to good products, good services. Make sure you deploy them first. I mean, that's going to help you, right? I mean, we always try and encourage all of our partners to get NFR kit from us, to go and use it, to go and deploy it. They get to know it, the ins and outs of it. They're using it to protect their own customers. It's far easier then for them to go out with a strategy and with the knowledge that they have behind that strategy to be able to go and recruit new customers and make sure that they're secure in their existing. So yeah, it just kind of makes sense.
So from that, Jason, obviously there's a lot of pressure, I guess, for MSPs to stay secure, but also to be able to provide that advice to their customers. And with that in mind, and to celebrate MSPs, we created MSP Day, and you were pivotal in that creation of this day. Can you tell us, how this came about and its purpose?
Yeah, I can. I'd love to. So this has been in the works for a number of years now. I think I said earlier, I came into this business at the start of 2016. Really excited. My background is working with end users through the channel. Barracuda has always been a channel-led company and worked with the channel in everything that we do. And the MSP world at that point was kind of reasonably new to me. It was fairly quickly into learning about the MSP communities that I kind of felt like it's a different world. There's a lot of collaboration, there's a lot of working together, there's a lot of trying to help each other out. So even though there's kind of competition, as you would see in a normal kind of channel with resellers and distribution and stuff, these guys are absolutely sharing their wins, their losses, what's worked, what's not worked, all that sort of kind of stuff it was just mind-blowing to kind of see it. And I kind of thought quite quickly that I wanted to try and create something that allowed us as a serious player in this market, fairly new into the MSP market space. I wanted to create something that we could celebrate the amazing work that managed service providers do. We wanted to recognize it, we wanted to try and have some fun with it, and then we want to try and give something back. And through a few of us being involved in those communications and trying to work out what would be good for us to do and to tick all of those boxes, we kind of came up with, I'm not even sure I can lay claim to it, but between us all, we came up with the idea of actually creating an MSP Day. There was no MSP Day, so there was National Coffee Day, National Pizza Day, Beer Day, all these amazing kind of days of people just trying to, mark those great things as well. And we put the stake in the ground. We decided that we would create MSP Day, and it would be a day for us to kind of share with the whole of the MSP community, to have a bit of fun with it, like I say, to try and share and collaborate as much as possible, but also then as well to give something back. We would create a whole bunch of content and interesting tools and things that the community could use. And that's actually evolved. 2018 was the first time that we did that. We did that in the UK to start with. And as I say, it evolved into a pan-European, and this year in 2020, it's gone global. So it's been super exciting for me. It's been awesome that we've been able to create it. It's gained real momentum as we go. I think our customers and our partners have really enjoyed it, and I think more and more people have got involved every year. It's been a really cool thing on social media, and I just kind of feel like it will continue to build momentum. We'll continue to get more people involved. Neal mentioned, chair of CompTIA, and we were fortunate this year to have CompTIA as a global partner for us, and I'm sure Neal can touch on that in a little bit more detail. But it's been awesome. I think it's been very well received, and we will continue to invest in it because I think it's really cool for the whole of the MSP community.
So as part of MSP Day, Barracuda creates an annual report that looks at the state of the nation for MSPs, right? So can you tell us a little bit about this research and some of the key findings in it?
Yeah, let me go there as well. Yeah, it's been interesting. Every year we've produced a report. The report has looked at the state of the landscape for MSPs, and as I say, we kind of started that in the UK, and we've been trying to look at how the landscape has been evolving, and how MSP businesses can kind of learn from a whole bunch of MSPs coming together and sharing their feedback to take forward in their business to help them to be successful. We obviously, as I said earlier, 20 years almost of security expertise. So, it's been interesting for us to go and ask a whole bunch of security questions. And I think the overall key thing that's come out of this is for every managed service provider that's out there, no matter where you are in being able to help your customers with security, there is still a huge amount of opportunity for you to grow your business if you can get some serious focus around security. And nearly all of the respondents to our questionnaire this year in producing that report, nearly 90% of those guys said that the demand for security services were significantly increasing right now, and we're kind of going to see that for the rest of 2020. So that was really cool. Some of the things that are driving that came out of the report, a lack of in-house skills at an end-user level. So many managed service providers look after a lot of smaller SME, SMB kind of businesses. Those guys don't always have the skill set in-house, particularly around security, to help with the sophistication that the cyber criminals now have within their armory. So, again, 80% almost kind of felt that security concerns would be an ongoing area for them to focus on. And 72% also said that there is a lack of in-house skills that is creating opportunities for managed service providers to do more for their customers around that. Security services was also quite interesting. So every year in this report, and we'll go into more details with it, we look at the top 5 services. Security is now playing in more of those top 5 slots than it was in last year. Security touched it last year. This year in 2020, we 3 out of 5 are a security play, so that's quite interesting for us to see as well. But yeah, I think just overall, the opportunity for MSPs is huge, more now so than ever. I think the resellers and the reseller community are absolutely looking to invest and looking to offer managed services as part of their portfolio. And security is right there, right at the top of the agenda, front and center stage, as it were, for end users to be looking for help. So, the managed service providers that are looking at their businesses and being able to think about how they can do more for their customers are the ones that I think will continue to be successful going forward. So yeah, really interesting. Lots and lots of focus around security for 2020 for sure. Okay, so some really good findings. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the research. One of the key findings was the fact that a significant 91% of partners said that they were planning to increase the breadth and depth of their services capacity in the next 12 months. What do you think is currently the most popular managed service and why?
So I don't know if there's a more popular service. I would say, though, I agree with the finding of MSP Day's study, which basically is, I look at it as almost MSPs are telling us, look, it's hybrid approach, there's multiple different services happening, but at the end of the day, those are requests from their end users, right? Like the end user are really driving the demand that hits the MSPs. Like, what are they being asked for? And so what I look at it is security is so popular because end users are concerned about security, right? And I think from my perspective, if you are a managed service provider and you haven't evaluated your managed service portfolio in the last 6 or 12 months, you're behind. You need to basically do a security assessment of that portfolio and understand what services you can add to it, or what services you could even remove from it. With what's happened as of late with the pandemic, I think on this call we're in 3 different time zones, 2 different countries. Like, we're putting this on, right? How it's affected us all global print, but the needs of us all working remote, it has changed, and a managed service provider kind of needs to be able to adapt to that themselves personally, but then also for the businesses that they support. And so, we're starting to see a lot of endpoint security, focus on the endpoint, maybe remote solutions on how someone gets access to stuff as being kind of popular, or some options that MSPs are adding. But I think maybe I'm painting too big of a brush, but security is the focus. And then I think it depends on the end users that you support, kind of what you need to look at when you add it to your portfolio.
Yeah, I think let me jump in there as well. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Neal. So I've just been checking my notes to make sure I don't get it wrong. But yeah, just going back to my
I thought you weren't paying attention.
Yeah, I enjoy not paying too much attention to you whenever possible. But yeah, no, in 2019 there was network monitoring and managing was kind of number one in terms of top 5 services offered. Email security was number 2, and kind of one that was quite interesting for me was backup, business continuity, and DR was number 3. So that was kind of quite interesting. That's a long stay. That's all managed service providers are offering a backup service in some way, shape, or form. But in 2020, that's changed. So the backup continuity and DR is now at number 1, which doesn't surprise me too much, as particularly with COVID, right? We've not mentioned that, but as things have changed this year and we've moved to that more remote kind of working environment, making sure things are getting backed up and there is a good service around that has come to the fore. But then you've got number 2, endpoint security, number 3, network management and monitoring, and number 4, email security. So, there's been a huge shift in the focus of making sure that there is multiple layers, I guess is probably a good way of saying it, around security. And I was reading some stuff last week, and there were some interesting comments that were coming out. So comments from managed service providers, and one of the guys who was a business owner, managed service provider owner, he said that there's one thing that's for sure: nothing else matters if you get the security wrong, right? And that kind of stuck with me. So we all know that managed service providers do an array of different services, right? And sometimes they look after all of somebody's infrastructure, sometimes they look after parts of it, sometimes they're just doing security, sometimes they're just doing endpoint. The other interesting thing that came out of this conversation was that even if you're not providing security services to these people, to your customers, don't think that you don't have a responsibility for it. Don't think that it won't affect you in some way, shape, or form. If you're touching that customer, that end user, that company, and they have a security breach or something happens from a security perspective, it will affect you. So get involved, be involved, and if you're going to have to be involved and it's going to affect you, then why not build a service so that you can actually go and try and look after it yourself and manage it and charge for it, bill for it, and help grow your business, which I thought was really cool. And it'd be good to get your kind of comments on that in a second as well. But yeah, I kind of felt that whole kind of philosophy of, making sure that you're involved in it, I guess kind of led back to a realization of, if you're not doing their security, somebody else probably is. And again, going back to the skills shortage, so they're probably going to have to go and try and outsource it from somewhere. And if you're allowing somebody else to go into that customer and look after their security, which right now, as I said earlier, front and center stage, right? What's the risk there for you as an MSP? Well, the risk is that somebody else is going to start looking at the other services that they can offer, and before you know it, your services are gone and what you're billing for is gone as they consolidate into that one MSP, right? So I think we're kind of seeing that stuff, and for me to hear it and read it, it's just stuck with me, and I think it's important that we realise that. Are you seeing that in the people that you're speaking to?
Absolutely. I mean, if someone's doesn't think they're accountable for security in managed services, they're doing something wrong, right? Because security is touching all of us. It's the reason why customers are buying stuff. It's the reason why MSPs are having conversations with us. And I think there's an accountability thing. We can't finger at the other guy and be like, well, they were going to do the security, not me. It just doesn't work. Everyone's getting fired at that point. The one cautionary tale I tell MSPs is, if you don't know what to do in a security opportunity, don't make it up. Find a partner, find someone that can help you, because if you do it wrong, it's probably just as bad as not doing it. So make sure that you are actually doing your due diligence and your investigations to make sure that you do it right. But I agree with you, Jason. We're hearing that as well in the partner conversations that I have.
Really interesting, guys. So security is really just a baseline. Whether or not you're providing that as a service to your customers or not, it's your responsibility to make sure that you are extending some level of security. Makes a lot of sense given today's environment. So you talked about the different dynamics and sort of facets of security. You've got data protection, email security, now access control, becoming increasingly popular. These are all cited as areas that MSPs are now focusing on. What do you guys think is going to be the next big trend in managed services?
So now we're predicting the future. This is a good one, Jason. I like these LinkedIn Live. This is great. Let me see if I can do this. This is how powerful this will be. From my perspective, I think a lot of what's happened in 2020, small businesses are operating differently. Hybrid workforces, they have a lot of more remote employees. And if I look at kind of the past, small businesses didn't operate that way. Most small business owners did not want employees operating from home. They're like, they're not going to work. Why are they? No way. Like, I have no trust that that's going to happen. And I think what this year has proven is they are open to the idea of someone working remotely more than half the time or half the time. But the solutions that they had didn't really exist. So MSPs have truly had to compensate and help these users or businesses in that regard. So, prior to it, imagine that you had someone that wanted to transfer a file. They maybe would take a USB stick and walk around the office, and they had an Exchange server. Well, now, they're all going to Office 365, subscription services, cloud-based, right? They can work from anywhere. So now you got to figure out on the identity side, how do you protect all those cloud services, right? And so from my perspective, whether Barracuda offers these solutions or not, MSPs are really heading into, I think, identity is really going to be a big one. And then also endpoints, because you don't know where someone's going to work from. And we need to make sure that that endpoint that has that, business data is protected. And so those are kind of those two categories where I see opportunities for MSPs. If they don't have something in their current stack or in their current portfolio, they should look at it. For Barracuda's perspective, our Sentinel with business email compromise protection, right? I mean, that's how we're attacking that, right? Seeing if someone has stolen your credentials, seeing if someone's getting access to your email, that's how we fit into that. But really, MSP should be looking at how does someone access stuff on the identity side and really protecting those endpoints because you just don't know where users are going to be working nowadays.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment, Neal. It's hard to predict the future, right? We're good, but I'm not sure we're that good. But one thing is for sure is that I don't know what the next big thing is, but right now security is a big thing, and it's not going away anytime soon, right? Attacks are becoming much more sophisticated. The number of attacks that we've seen, particularly as we've gone into this slightly different world that we've all been living in for the past 4 or 5 months. There's different vulnerabilities, different threat vectors. So the whole thing's kind of moving around a little bit, and everybody's having to be very smart and pay attention to what's going on. And I think it's key. I think that if you're not focusing your business on how you can help your customers fix pain points around security, because it's not if, it's when, for sure, and they will need help. And you want to get yourself in a situation where, as a managed service provider, you're at the forefront of them coming to you as a trusted advisor and asking for that help. I still think there's a lot for managed service providers to do to make sure they're maximizing helping their customers around security. And I hope that we can help them to do that for sure.
Okay, so we're going to carry on with the theme of looking into your crystal ball of what's coming in the future. With the ability to provide monthly recurring costs and in these uncertain times, do you feel that transactional revenue will ever completely disappear in the future?
Oh, that's a good question, Neal.
So this is, I love live shows, but my audio flaked a little bit. So, you got to love technology, you got to love the internet. So I'm assuming you're asking about reoccurring subscription revenue versus one-time revenue, just to confirm, Darshna?
Correct, yes.
Awesome.
Do you think that transactional revenue will disappear in the future and everyone will go to monthly?
Yeah, so I don't actually think it disappears completely. And I'll give you an example. MSPs did quite well in this new world. So what happened when the pandemic hit? I know I keep going back to it, but it's as we're all living it, right? A lot of businesses killed all their project work. And so what happened is MSPs that had reoccurring revenue were okay. They were still supporting their customers. They were still had a revenue stream. The operational expense businesses didn't get rid of, but they started to look at their project work. Then we got through it a little bit and they're realizing, hey, we need to do some project work. So the MSPs that really have both the project team and the managed services team are really set up for success. And they basically, business really ping pongs between those two businesses, right? If you're doing a reoccurring type model, maybe you're only doing security, maybe you're only managing email, but someone wants to do a project of migrating to Office 365, that's a one-time project. You have a team that can do that. That'll then feed into your reoccurring. The other is also true. You might just get a one-time job from somebody that says, hey, I want to upgrade my computers, and you'll do it. But then they have no one to maintain it month over month, and that feeds your reoccurring. And so from my perspective, I think every MSP needs to have the ability to do both. And I think if you look at it as I'm going to be transactional only, I'm going to lump everything in and charge one monthly fee, you might actually be leaving some opportunity and some revenue on the table, and it might hurt your profit a little bit. I don't know, Jason, what you're seeing in the UK, but I truly think you need both, and I don't think it disappears at all completely on the project work.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and we're certainly seeing that. So I think that we do still live in a very hybrid world on many, many levels, Neal. We're certainly seeing that. I think that there are MSPs that are fully dedicated MSPs, and most of the stuff they will do is managed service, but not 100% of their business is. I would say the majority. I think the report touches on it. More than almost 50% of the MSPs that we spoke to, more than 50% of their business is through that kind of monthly recurring model that they have. But we're seeing that increase as well, I think. And I think that a lot of them cited that the opportunity for them going forward, particularly in 2020, was to go and focus on generating more of that kind of business for themselves. So yeah, I mean that's kind of interesting. But yeah, I don't think it'll go away. There are many driving forces that are moving to a monthly subscription model, not necessarily just around managed services, but the way that people are consuming products generally is kind of moving in that way. I think it's important for managed service providers to have a reasonably vast portfolio, but a portfolio that they can kind of specialize in, and that will help them to go and get more monthly recurring revenue. But you're always going to have end users that will have their own resource. You're always going to have end users, whether it be for compliance reasons or for some other reasons, that want to own and manage and look after their own security and have it in-house. That will happen. We're certainly seeing more MSPs helping slightly larger end users that need some help with security. So maybe they'll look after a part of security or a piece of security, and they'll get that on a monthly recurring. But yeah, no, I don't think it goes away for any time soon. I think the hybrid kind of stays with us. I think it's very careful that you make sure that you qualify through with the end user and you set the right expectations. You make sure that you're delivering against those expectations, and you make sure that you maintain a level of trust that, we'll probably come onto that at some point in this as well, because trust played a large part in the survey that come back to us as a reason why potentially people might not go down a managed service path. So the more that we can make sure that we set those right expectations, we can deliver what we're saying we can deliver in the MSP world, the more we'll sell monthly recurring revenues. And I also think as well, just coming back to the pandemic, it has been, Neal, those partners that are able to go and speak to their customers that perhaps can't find 15, 20, 30, 50,000 pounds to go and drop a whole bunch of infrastructure in the changes, but offer them really powerful and cool solutions on a monthly recurring kind of fee. I think that's helping those small businesses as well come out of this, and I think that's been really key as well in helping managed service providers grow their business with that more monthly recurring.
Really interesting predictions, you guys. And to touch again on what you started to allude to, Jason, security is definitely at the top of mind for end users and should be at the top of mind for all MSPs, of course, as well. So we saw that 72% of those that were surveyed said that a lack of in-house security skills at their customers is a really big driver. So how can MSPs really help with that skills gap?
Yeah, so that is definitely a reason that is driving end users to focus on managed service providers. So I think there's a bunch of stuff that MSPs need to be able to do. They need to be fairly agile. They need to spend the time wisely to make sure that they are getting skilled in the right places. And they need to make sure that they're helping their customers and listening to the pain points. I mean, ultimately, what they have to do is they have to understand what the pain is, and then they have to go and fix it. So I think it's key that managed service providers understand what the customers' needs are, make sure they've got really relevant services that are going to fix those problems. Spend the time to talk through it, set the right expectations, deliver against those expectations, and do a good job. That's how they become trusted advisors. And I think a lot of the MSP community works and expands and gets bigger because of the trust that it builds at an end user level. So yeah, I think it's really important for them to focus in those spaces. Neal, are you seeing the same? Would you say the same kind of stuff? Have we lost Neal?
Oh, sorry. It was an audio thing again. You would think that I'd have good internet.
I was ignoring you, right?
I know.
I was ignoring you. Okay, pay back. I get it.
To kind of piggyback a little bit what Jason said, I'll focus that question on MSPs and training. I would say they need to make sure they're partnering with their vendors, getting as much free training as they can. If they have people on staff that are looking for security training, how do they facilitate that? How do they build up their staff or build up their employees so that they can have those security conversations? And so I think there's a two-prong approach. Yes, there's SMBs that lack security expertise and are looking at MSPs for help, but then at the same time, the MSP needs to make sure that they're training their staff, partnering with the right people, and being able to provide the right knowledge and assistance to the businesses that they support. And so, I think the business owners of MSPs need to be able to answer kind of both of those questions.
Okay, and then carrying on with that, and we've probably just touched on some of this already, but what do you think the future holds in terms of managed service offerings? Carrying on with the crystal ball.
The crystal ball. If only we had a crystal ball, right? It'd be a completely different world. So I think from my perspective, I wouldn't want to be in anywhere else other than the MSP world right now, right? I think the whole world is moving towards managed service providers. As long as managed service providers continue to offer the right things and do the right things and have the right partnerships, then I think it's an awesome place to be. I think if we can carry on with good collaboration, good communication, and I also think, from a vendor's perspective, we have a responsibility to try and make sure that we continue to help managed service providers to be able to do those things. We have a responsibility to try and make sure that we do have products that integrate with other products, other vendors, and it's certainly a focus for Barracuda MSP to try and do those things. And ultimately we want to try and make everybody's life simpler, right? We want to make sure that the world is as safe as we can possibly make it. We want to make it as easy as we possibly can for people to buy the products and use the products. And managed service providers for us is a really important part of our business, and we want to try and make sure that we play a part in seeing those guys continue to be successful. So, I think the future's bright. I think the report that's come from MSP Day shows that it's tough. I think we need to be realistic as well. Probably not all managed service providers are going to get through the pain of the last few months. I think that's a reality. I think there'll be some consolidation. I think there'll be people that will have to take a good hard look at what they're offering to their customers and the business that they have and what they want to do going forward. My advice would be to start with security, focus there and build out. I guess you could say I'm slightly biased, but I think that's the reality of it. Going back to what we said earlier, if you get the security wrong, nothing else matters. As well as, even if it's not your problem, it is your problem, trust me. So yeah, I think the MSP community is an awesome community. I think everybody does a fantastic job on the whole. Very proud to be part of it, and I think that if everybody continues in the same vein, then that we've certainly seen in the last 4 or 5 years, it's a great place to be with still huge amounts of opportunity. Neal, you've been involved in it for far longer than me, right? So you've seen lots and lots of change going on. Do you agree with those comments?
I mean, the only thing I would add is, back in the day, MSPs managed devices. Now the question is, do you manage devices or users, or do you manage both? As everything goes to the cloud, users become more important than devices. And how does your managed service offering take advantage of that or that dynamic collaboration platform? And so now, does your MSP offering have a collaboration platform built in? Are you offering, I won't mention, a third-party video conferencing tool? We're not a video conference today, but, I think MSPs need to evaluate where they add value to the businesses that they support, so that the business owner looks at it and goes, wow, look at the value I'm getting from this MSP, less so just being the guy that makes sure I can print, or the guy that I can basically go and, get emails, right? I think there's a lot more value that the MSPs offer today. Most do, and I think if they focus on what makes them different to their end users, and they'll be in a fantastic spot.
So guys, we're just about at time here, but given your extensive experience in this field, can you leave our viewers with maybe a top tip, something that you've learned over the years for MSPs or partners who are just starting to dip their toes into the managed services world?
Oh yeah, let me kick that off. So I think that in view of what's happened in the last few months, if you're moving into the MSP space, there's certainly a few things that are for sure, and we don't know necessarily what's around the corner. So you need to be agile for sure. You need to be flexible. You need to be wise to make sure that you get yourselves educated and in a situation where you are ready to help when it's asked of you. And you need to choose the right partnerships. I think it's really, really important if you're starting to come into a managed service space, you work with people that can help you dip your toe in it by building the right kind of services, by being focused in the right kind of areas, making the right kind of introductions to other people that have been there and done it, and have a community to help you to do that. And yeah, I think probably out of all of that, having the right partnerships is the biggest thing that I can say. Work with people that are dedicated to the MSP space, and they'll help you get onto your journey and help that journey to be a successful one.
And I would say, as you're just starting out and you're moving forward, I had a CEO that both Jason and I have worked for, but be first or be different. And I think as a managed service provider, there's so many out there. There's so many that can support your end users. What makes you different, and why is that business paying you? And focus on that and excel at that, and make sure that you really market to all the other customers you have what makes you the best at that. It could be a vertical, it could be some specialty collaboration. I mean, you pick. I'm not going to tell you what that is, but make sure you don't lose that as you scale your business, or as you're the tough times of starting a business, that you focus on that. And I would also just echo, in the spirit of MSP Day and what Jason Howells said, ask for help. There are so many MSPs globally that are open to helping you with any challenge. There's probably no challenge you're going to have in the beginning of your business that someone else hasn't encountered. So don't be shy. Don't be like, how am I going to fix this? Really reach out, get involved in the MSP community, reach out to one of your vendors. It could be Barracuda, we're happy to help, or it could be somebody else, and say, hey, look, I got this challenge. Can you point me in the right direction? And I guarantee you, if you're part of the MSP community, someone will help you. It's a great community to be part of. Awesome, awesome community.
Excellent guidance, you guys. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have for today. Now, if you want to delve deeper into the report, you can download the report at barracudamsp.com, and there's details to download that report in the comments as well. Thank you, Neal. Thank you, Jason, so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we've learned so much.
Thank you. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks
very much.
Thank you. Also, don't forget to follow Barracuda on LinkedIn to see our previous shows, as well as to find out what's coming next on Below the Surface. I guess that just leaves us to say until next time, have a safe journey.